e-invoicing through digital platform. Abhi, what all happening in the GST and some changes have been coming all the time. I believe today is also a meeting of GST Council going on. We have very good experts from our chamber as well as the guest speakers. Also, we have with us Mr. Kishan Arora, who is partner Tax Grant Thornton, India. We have Mr. Karan Kakkad, associate partner Tax Grant, same company, Thornton, India. We have Mr. Prikshat Jain, associate director, Digitech Grant Transform, India. Now we have with us our convener of this taxation committee, very learned friend of mine, Mr. Pawan Pava. We have a good number of participants. I will like to welcome every one of you here. Also would like to update you about the PhD chamber that we are a national level chamber, which is 115-year-old and which is taking care of for the interest of the industry, trade, and works with for the grassroots level with strong international and national linkages. We have our regional office in Chandigarh, which take care of Punjab, and we are as a Punjab committee, where Miss Ma'am Madhu is heading this regional office, and Rimneet is heading Punjab chapter. So moving further, we have a good number of speakers with us, 3 speakers, and Mr. Krishan Arora will moderate this today's program. With this, I would request Mr. Pawan Pava, who being chairman of Taxation Committee, to initiate the program, and then request our speakers to take it further and give us more knowledge about today's subject. Thank you. Pavaji, please.
Thank you, sir. So, friends, today as our endeavor to guide the industry over the key amendments and changes time and again. So this is another effort of the PhD chamber team to introduce you to a new change of e-invoicing, which is being introduced from 1st of October and being made applicable. So this is the e-invoicing at the initial phase is being made applicable to the companies who are having a turnover of more than 500 crores. Initial, this limit was set at 100 crores, but our relief for the time being has been given extended to the small companies. Now, what is the reason behind introducing e-invoicing? One of the major reasons for introducing e-invoicing is the rampant evasion which was going on in the industry. Recently, we have seen in the Punjab, there has been a lot of investigation being ongoing by the Vigilance Bureau because of this evasions. And 2, this will also improve sales reporting, automation of data entry work, and also improve compliances on account of GST. Now, one question I'll just like to refer to 2 questions which I am receiving time and again. That is e-invoicing. When we refer to e-invoicing, is it something which is to be raised from the GST portal? So let me make it clear. When we are talking about e-invoicing, is a mechanism whereby your invoices which you are generating from your current ERP are authenticated by the GST portals. And it's not that you will going to raise the invoice from GST portal. So I think the process, how it works, will be taken care by our eminent speakers from Grant Thornton. Besides that, another question which comes to our mind is that since we are not very prepared with the e-invoicing mechanism, so what will happen if I don't raise the invoice? E-invoice, I don't get it authenticated, I raise the regular invoice. So one of the apprehension in the people's mind is that, okay, we'll raise a regular invoice, and in case there is any penalty, that regular penalty will be imposed by the authorities. We'll see to it later on. But let me make it very clear that for the entities whom e-invoicing is applicable, if they do not raise the e-invoice, this would be considered as a non-invoiced supply, meaning thereby the person who is receiving the goods or supplies from such person would not be eligible to get the input tax credit, which is going to have a very significant impact on the business. So not getting too much into the intricacies of e-invoicing, I like Krishan Arora through who is a partner in Grant Thornton, a very good friend of mine. So I'll request Krishna Arora to take the things forward and guide our friends and the industry on how this invoicing mechanism is going to work. So over to Krishan.
Thank you, Pawan. Thank you for that introduction and setting the context. And I thank PSD Chamber and the members to have taken out time and to give us this opportunity to discuss a very important change. This is not just a compliance, as Pawan mentioned. It is a large business change as well as a major shift in the overall framework which the government is actually looking at to make it absolutely exhaustive, such that any transaction which is where the invoicing is mandatory will not be treated to be a valid transaction if you don't have a valid invoice. That's the change we are talking about here. And with that, I'll quickly introduce our speakers today. And I thank you on behalf of Grant Thornton. I'm a partner with Grant Thornton, and I'm based out of NCR region. I am also joined by my colleagues. Mr. Karan Kakkar, as was introduced, he's an associate partner with us in NCR region, and Parikshit Jain, he's our, he's part of our Digitech team. He's an associate director, and he will take us through some of the nitty-gritties of a good digital platform which we have created and what actually industry requires to meet this requirement. As we talked about the fact that this GST Council had approved the introduction of e-invoicing. It was initially made on a voluntary basis, where the specific assessees or industry players were invited for starting this activity on a voluntary basis. It is now being made mandatory from 1st of October, as Pawan mentioned, for reporting of B2B transactions, which is business to business invoices, into the GST portal. The portal which is running this e-invoicing system is run by National Informatics Center, NIC, and the portal is called Invoice Registration Portal, IRP. So IRP is the portal which is created on the NIC. This is different from the GSTN because this portal is designed only to meet the requirements of conducting the e-invoicing validation, so to say. And as Pawan rightly mentioned, you are to use this to whoever the e-invoicing will become applicable will be required to use this portal to get the validation from the government side of the invoice which is submitted, depending upon the validity of the invoice details or the data which is submitted on the portal. Once that invoice is treated to be a valid invoice, the IRP, which is the Invoice Registration Portal, will ultimately approve that invoice by allocating a invoice reference number to that particular invoice. So if you look at the reason why government actually looked at standardizing this whole process, there was no standard invoice or any invoice which was prescribed under the GST law before introduction of e-invoice. Also, there was a need felt that an invoice has to be standardized across locations. So has been the law. And while the discussion took place between the industry bodies, various associations, chambers, and the guidance of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, this invoice format was finalized after due deliberation, after taking approval from all stakeholders. Now, the reason of that was also in the new world of digitalization and the initiative around digitalization for the government, which is currently ongoing, to make this invoice readable from any source, or on a click of a button, or you scan that invoice and you can see the detail of that invoice once it's treated to be a valid invoice by the IRP or the government, basically. So machine readability and uniform interpretation of the invoice was some of the key objectives with which this facility was actually being introduced. Obviously, this also means that we are going into the paperless way of working in the today's world. And most important part of this is the information which is reported is going to be legitimately approved by a government agency. which was not happening earlier. So earlier, the initial plan was that the GSTR 1, 2, and 3 would automatically work on the GST portal, which unfortunately did not happen till now. So we were, going in a makeshift arrangement of filing a summary return under GSTR 3B, which is a self-assessment or a self, provisional return filed on a self-assessment basis, along with the GSTR 1, which is the supply details. No matching of this data was happening automatically on the portal, which meant that, as Pawan also highlighted, the fact that the amount of evasion or the amount of reporting or under-reporting which was going on, that resulted in a huge loss to the government from not having such transactions being reported. A lot of fake invoices were being used as a platform to take credits by different people who were having malafide intentions. Just to share a data point, India lost about 48,000 crore rupees of tax in April to December 2018 itself. You can imagine the kind of quantum of loss. Almost 30 to 40% revenue loss has already happened only because of evasion of transactions, which could happen because of fake invoices, fake GST IDs, etc. So these kind of malafide practices ultimately were the primary reason for government to push the requirement of e-invoicing on everybody. At least to start with, it is now being applicable for assessees who are whose aggregate turnover is above 500 crore. But for others, it will soon to follow. Ultimately, for 100 to 500 crore also, it will happen in due course of time. It's a matter of time. So the preparedness of this requirement will be across industry, at least for people who are above 100 crore to 500 crore as well, in the second phase, maybe after some time. And the reason of this getting pushed was obviously the current situation of the economy and the current times in which all of us are. And that's the reason why the preparedness of the industry was not completely there. Even today, we hear that many of the players are still trying to struggle to make this to abide by this deadline of 1st October. But it needs to be seen what step the government will take as we close, as we are approaching this deadline in probably barely 3 weeks from now. The key features, and before that, just would like to mention, if you have any questions, you can keep posing posting those questions in the chat window, which is provided in this, and we will have a time to address those in the later point of time. But request you to keep putting your questions. We'll keep trying to answer them alongside. So the two requisites which are required on the e-invoicing from the invoice registration portal is that you have to prepare your own systems to create an invoice. One, it will be your requirement to push that invoice and upload it onto the invoice registration portal, which is the IRP. After that, the role of IRP starts. So what will IRP basically do? IRP will validate the information of the invoice in all respects. There are almost 44 mandatory fields which are required to be met out of almost 132 fields which are where the checks are being done. And out of this validations, about 50 to 60 validations are going to happen by the portal. And if any platform which you use has to have that facility before that information is actually submitted onto the portal. So what is important is to create that framework is the requirement casted upon the entities who are required to do this mandatorily. It is to be done only for B2B invoices, which means that only business to business transactions have to be reported on the IRP to start with. For B2C, if your turnover threshold limit is above 500 crore and you're also undertaking B2C transactions, for B2C, you only have to generate a QR code, which is a quick response code that has to be done as a self-compliance for B2C transactions. B2C transactions are not to be reported on the IRP portal. Only B2B transactions are to be reported. So that is what the requirement of the IRP portal or the getting the validation of the portal is. So once the invoice data is submitted on the IRP portal, they will run that. The government basically will perform all the checks, validations of the IRP on the IRP portal. IRN is a unique invoice reference number which will be issued. This is self-generated by the IRP once it reaches the valid invoice to be valid. It is based on a hash algorithm. This is basically a 64-character code which will be received on the approval which is granted from the IRP for every invoice. It will be unique for every invoice, so there can be no duplicate IRN. Once that invoice is submitted and approved, the same number will not be issued for any other invoice. That's something which is very clearly given as part of the framework. This will be unique to every invoice, debit note, credit note, which you submit onto the portal. These characters comprise of alphanumeric and special characters, primarily based on 3 parameters: supplier GSTN number, supplier document number, which is the invoice number, and the financial year to which it pertains to. These are the 3 parameters which are comprised of in the IRN. Apart from that, when the IRN is generated, they will also issue the QR code along with that and give it back as a package for every such invoice which is submitted for approval. If only that invoice is treated to be valid in all respects, the GSTN details of the supplier, the recipient details, address, code, all of those details, we'll talk about them separately. If all of them match and meet the requirements of the legitimately of the portal, only then these 2 things will be issued. QR code is a quick response code. It is basically a code which you see it's a 2-dimensional barcode, which ultimately has the IRN converted into that form only to make it machine readable. So if you see that you are any scanning, you can scan an invoice on a QR code. You see the QR code when you use Paytm, etc. You use a QR code on any scanning device or any machine which can read the QR code. You will get all the details of that particular transaction on the QR code itself, which means that the supplier invoice details, the supplier information, the recipient information, invoice number, date, everything will be contained in that QR code once that invoice has been approved by the IRP. These 2 information will be available for any stakeholder who can access that invoice, whether it's a government agency, whether it's a tax department, whether anybody who's checking that the consignment on the in course of the movement of goods, the buyer, the seller, or any other stakeholder. All of them will be able to access this information legitimately, which will contain the IRP as the IRN and the QR code. Next slide, please. We've already talked about it, but yes, the idea was to avoid tax evasion and better taxpayer services, because the information contained on the mandatory invoices will automatically push to the GSTN portal. So GSTN portal, where you do currently the compliance in 3B and GSTR1, ultimately will have the auto-populated data, which will be the purchase data of the buyer will get auto-populated by this data, the data which is submitted on the e-invoice by the seller. So that information will not be captured by you separately for the purpose of purchase. It is going to be auto-populated wherever e-invoice is mandatorily issued. So after e-invoicing is done on the portal, the validation is done, this information rolls into the GSTF portal automatically. There will be substantial reduction, transparency in claiming credit of such supplies, because this information will be validated by the the government itself. This information will automatically get populated in the purchase data. Also in the e-way bill part A, this data of supply will automatically get populated. This means that there is a complete synchronization between the 3 between these 3 information databases automatically after the e-invoice is submitted. So you can imagine the kind of volume, the kind of transparency e-invoicing will bring as part of the overall framework once it becomes applicable to everybody who's going to be complying with it. And in times to come, it will happen to everybody. In the second phase will be 100 to 500 crores. But at least for that those people also, the preparedness level will be required in the times to come very soon after the first phase starts of 500 crore and above. There are different modes of creation, and we will discuss that later in our presentation and the demo which we plan to undertake. But it can be a web-based application. It could be a direct integration of your ERP system to create the invoice from your system, which will directly hit the IRP portal, which is the government portal. All you need is a GSP, because the GST Suvidha provider acts as a licensing to ultimately speak to the GST portal. So they will be able to, they have access to the IRP. So use of that along with the integration, you can do this activity. There could be an offline tool. Various agencies have prepared tool, including us. These tool can be used externally from any system to actually use the data and export it into the IRP for IRP portal for the purpose of generation of the invoice. And mobile-based platform will also get introduced. So it will be made as simple as a click of a button, that the information once it is valid and submitted to the portal on any of these platforms, you will get a valid invoice if the data is inputted correctly. Next slide, please. I've already covered this, so I'm not going to repeat. But as of today, as we mentioned and Pavan also mentioned, we will if the date does not go further up, 1st October is the time when the mandatory requirement will start for all companies whose turnover exceeds 500 crore. B2B, B2C, all turnovers, aggregate turnover for pan-India basis has to be seen for this purposes. Next slide, please. Globally, we are not one of the newer ones to do this. It has been there as long as back in 2001 when Chile introduced mandatory invoicing on the government portal. Almost 98% of that the assessees were required to do invoicing from that time. So you can imagine the digitalization has happened across EU. Look at China. China is targeted to issue almost 55 billion invoices by 2022. That's the kind of magnitude we are imagining on the kind of portal or the compliance which will happen on the portal. India has almost 7,500 plus GSTs which are above 500 crore. In the first phase itself, that's the kind of quantum which India will see once the invoicing starts. And India will be one of the largest invoicing-led economies in this world of digitalization to ensure that 100% transparency, accuracy, and reporting of transactions on an automated basis. And just to share, I mentioned about how India lost, already that much, tax because of, non-reporting or under-reporting or non-compliant invoices and databases. Other countries like Brazil, Chile, they have reduced that gap of tax by almost 50 to 100% in that time when they introduced invoicing. That's exactly what India plans to achieve while introducing the invoicing mechanism for its all the companies as in a phase-wise manner. Next slide, please. So I will have my colleague Karan and Parikshit take you through some of the nuances and the practical aspects of invoicing. What are the things which you need to keep in mind or be mindful of while preparing for this huge requirement and a business change? And also take you through a digital platform which we have created to make this solution be very simply used by anybody who wants to access it. Over to you, Karan. Karan, are you there?
Am I audible now?
Yes, you are audible now.
Yeah, sorry, I was, I think, on mute. So I just want to say good afternoon to everybody, and thank you, Pawan and Krishnan, for setting up the context. So I will go further from where Krishnan had stopped, and I'll just talk about few aspects, finer details about what e-invoicing applicability could be. So while we are talking about 500 crore as a turnover, so that will have to be seen for one PAN. If in one PAN, for example, there are 30 GSTNs, so that 500 crores aggregate of that 30 GNs turnover, we will have to see. And that turnover would also include, not only include taxable turnover, it will also include your exempted turnover. So aggregate overall turnover of the company is something we have to check for applicability of or enability of to generate e-invoice. So even in the government portal, they have introduced a link wherein any assessee can put in their GST number and find out whether they have to generate invoice or not. So for example, if any company voluntarily wants to do it, right now that is not being permitted by the IRP portal or the GST portal, where we can check the validity of this applicability of e-invoicing. So I would request all of you in this group, please go back, check on the IRP portal, put in your GST numbers, whether you are liable to generate e-invoice from 1st October onwards or not. So that will give you the first validation from the government portal itself. And like I told you earlier, the government had endeavored that okay, anybody who wants to do it voluntary can do it, but right now they have not started that facility. So only the assessees who are identified and who have enabled in the government portal to generate invoice, only those assessees can do that. So what all documents wherein the e-invoice has to be generated? One, the key thing what we need to note is that it is only and only for B2B transactions. So right now B2C transactions are kept out of generation of IRN number, which goes to the government portal, which is NIC portal. IRP portal. So there is no requirement to generate IRN number. However, for B2C transaction, there is. Can everybody else on on mute? Yeah. So for B2C transactions, QR code, which is a dynamic QR code, which is prescribed as per the notification of the government to be mandatory put on the companies whose turnover is exceeding 500 crores. So that is a change which has come in. However, there are some ambiguities around what will what will be forming part of the details which are applicable in B2C generation of QR code. So the government will come out with some clarifications around that. How, primarily it has to be a supplier detail and payment related details, or probably some details on the recipient side, like for B2B generation of QR code. But yes, right now there is no absolute clarity on that, which is definitely awaited by the government whenever they come up with. Of course, everybody of you will get to know about it. So the documents which are required for e-invoicing are your tax invoice, your debit notes pertaining to that tax invoice. The credit notes are the transactions which are applicable for e-invoicing. So which also includes your export turnovers or export invoices which are eligible or which are required for invoicing purposes to generate IRN code and IRN number and a QR code. So that is one thing. The other thing is, if there is any cancellation of the transaction, if it is identified for whatever reason within 24 hours, the e-invoice which has already been generated through the government portal can be cancelled. But for whatever purposes, we are not able to identify the change, what we want to make in the tax invoice or the e-invoice, what we have generated, we need to issue a debit note or a credit note, as the case may be, through the government portal, whenever that change is identified by the SSC themselves. So that is something there. And the e-invoice which is generated in the IRP portal is available on the government portal only for 1 day. We can see it only for 1 day. So what we recommend is to have a robust tool, the kind of what we have also built, which we'll be discussing in the subsequent slides, wherein we can store all this data and that can be accessed even beyond 1 day, which can, which as per our solution, we store the data or the IRN number or the invoices for 8 years. So that facility is not given by the government portal to any of the SSC. So there is definitely, like in case of physical filing of physical generation of invoices, there used to be triplicate copies. That is no more required. It will automatically be on the government portal, and the lorry or the truck, wherever the goods are going, if in case of goods, or wherever the services invoice is generated, the QR code can be immediately accessed by anybody, any officer or your customers, to see all the details are correct and we are GST compliant or not. So that triplicate copies of stationery is it will not be no more required for any such transactions. So government has also come out with the exceptions to not generation of e-invoicing, even if the turnover has exceeded 500 crores. So that is only in case of any units or developers in special economic zones, that is SEZs, any insurance companies, banking companies, financial institutes like NBFCs, goods transportation agency, etc. are the, if you see on the slide, if that is being displayed on the bottom box, there are exceptions which have been carved out for specific industries or players, wherein for now e-invoicing has been relaxed. So that is something to be taken note of. And any companies which are below 500 crores, like I mentioned, IRN generation and QR code generation is not mandatory. And if you believe your vendors who are eligible for e-invoicing are not following this e-invoicing, how do we, like I told you in the beginning, how do we get to know that? There is a link. You can put in the GST number of your vendor and find out whether he is eligible to generate e-invoice or not. So if he is and he's not generating, please go back to your vendors, and ask him to generate, only then that becomes a valid invoice for taking credit for, as a recipient also. Next slide. So this is the solution which we have built. This is an automated solution for generation of e-invoicing, and this will directly talk to the IRN or the IRP portal of the government, which will give back the details such as IRN number and the QR code, which becomes the valid document for transportation of goods, for supply of services, and any other transaction on which invoicing is applicable, which we mentioned, like for export. So that is something, this tool will automatically do it. So all we need to do is push the data through this tool, what the exact data, what we don't need to change any of our business processes. So e-invoicing, there is nothing new which government is coming out with. Only the validation of that invoice today, what we generate, is being validated by government. So we just need to keep that in mind. Nothing really changes. The life does not change. The business does not change just because e-invoicing has come in. Nothing like that. It is only the validation which is being done by the government for that invoice. Okay, this transaction is legitimate. This invoice is legitimate. So that is what the government is doing. So all the coding in your systems which are provided as per the schema of e-invoice, only that needs to be mapped for once. So if we have all the fields, and today also the invoice, what most of the industries generate would cover at least 95% of those mandatory fields which are required and under this e-invoicing schema. So not lot of customization or lot of changes needs to be done in the ERP system, but yes, one needs to definitely evaluate the ERP environment of the company, and then probably go for any modifications or updations in that. And definitely this tool which we have developed it has been, a lot of research has gone behind it, and we have taken care of all those scenarios which could come in even in future. For example, like generation of QR code for B2C invoicing also can be done through our tool, while that does not talk to the government portal. So that is the kind of features or the module what we have developed. So in the subsequent slides, we can talk about more benefits and the features of our tool, and then my colleague, will probably provide the live demo of the sandbox of this module what we have created. So the key features are this tool is seamless. It can integrate to any ERPs, be it SAP, be it Oracle, be it Navision, be it Tally. Any ERP environment can be seamlessly integrated in our tool, or it can be a reverse integration also. Our tool can be inbuilt in the ERP systems of the SSEs, and that can also work for generation of e-invoices. It has a very user friendly interface. So wherein on the click of a button, we can import, we can edit, we can cancel, we can see the validation checks, we can do the verifications of that invoice, we can see the calculation errors, if any, on that interface itself directly once we upload the data into the tool. So that will do all the checks and balances before it throws the data to the government portal to generate the invoice. So that is the inbuilt feature, which is there in our tool. And of course, at the backend, it will keep on improvising, and we'll keep on updating as per the provisions of the law change. The another peculiar feature is it also generates the PDF version of the invoice. So if there is a customization which is required as per the stationery of the SSE, that also can be done by us, and post that from the tool itself, we can generate the PDF invoice which can be sent to our customers. So that is another feature which is directly inbuilt. We don't need to go back, go back to our ERP systems again, do that reworking. So that can directly come through our tool, unless and until it is 100% integration. Then, which is when I say 100% integration, means that ERP directly from the ERP portal, on a click of a button, we integrate our tool in such a manner that we just say click or generate e-invoice, that generates the invoice from the government portal and puts it back to the ERP, from where like today we are doing normal business, we generate the invoice and give it to our customers. So that same thing also can happen. If that is 100% integration, what we call. Another thing is we also have a reminder or a timer which has been put for cancellation of invoice. So this is very important. Like I explained, any invoice can be cancelled between 24 hours. So we, in our tool, there is an inbuilt timer which will keep showing, and it will the watch how much time is left for the invoice. If somebody wants to rectify it or cancel it immediately. So that is also there, which is we have seen many of other solutions in the market. This is something we have developed and we have not seen anywhere. Which is just very, very user friendly. Also, we can integrate the emails whenever any emails of the users, wherever we have who is going to use this solution or tool, that can be integrated for submission of the invoice into the GST portal and get it back. And similarly, they can directly from the portal itself, from the tool itself, they can send the emails to the client or their customers. The another one is, of course, the bulk uploading of invoices is there. We can do a schedule. We can have a scheduler where we set the timing. Okay, by every 2 hours, the invoices have to be picked up, and that will be sent to the GST portal for generation of e-invoice. So that scheduling also can be done. Customization also can be done. There are archiving facility also, like I told you that government does not archive any of the invoices. We cannot go back and see what has been generated in the government portal after 1 day. But however, of the e-invoice, what we generate in our tool, it will remain for a couple of years, as long as 8 years also, the facility which is being provided by us. So this is a cloud-based tool which is very, very secured platform. We have done security audits as well before launching it. So all those features or concerns which generally most of the SSEs have, what happens to our data, whether it will go out anywhere else, how secure it is. So all that checks, all that ISO standards we are maintaining. We have taken all the approvals and we have everything in place to give that comfort to the SSEs. Next. Yeah, so this is primarily how the any SSE or the industry should gear up for. There have to be phase-wise approach which goes into the implementation of e-invoicing into the IT environment of the company. So one is, of course, we need to understand the ERP, what is being used by the companies, and the kind of stationery today what is being generated on which e-invoicing is applicable. So be it tax invoice, debit notes, credit note, export invoice, whatever it is. So that we need to see, and how many are B2B, how many are B2C. So all those analysis needs to be done. Then we get into the second phase where we identify, okay, these are the fields which are required to be modified in the ERP system or the IT environment of the company. That is where we do the mapping of the schema mandatory fields with the invoicing which needs to be generated as per the government requirements. And then, of course, depending on the requirement and the volumes, we advise on the integration methodology, wherein there could be different approaches, whether it has to be Excel upload, that is enough for the company if the volumes are very low. And if the volumes are very large, do we need to expose the APIs for 100% automation of integration between our tool and the IT system of the company? And then, of course, post implementation support, what we provide, wherein we keep doing testing, we keep doing improvements, upgrades, all updates which are coming from the government. So that all we keep improving the experience of our tool, after it is implemented in the IT systems of the company. So here I pass it on to my colleague Parikshit, who would talk about the process flow and also provide the live demo of the solution what we have built. Parikshit,
thanks Karan. Hi everyone. So just now, as we have got the details from Karan and Krishan, so I'll just quickly show how the data flows from the seller side to the buyer side, and I'll try to quickly jump onto the demo piece. So I'll just directly jump, and then I can come back to the. So this is the tool. This is the tool which we have built. We call it as gtaxpro.wcgt.in. Now this is the tool which has been built in terms of in lines with compliance of the GST schema, e-invoice schema version 1.03. Of course, there have been changes in the due course. So anyone who wants to utilize the tool has to reach out to the Grant Thornton indirect tax business team. So what we do is we create a one-time registration for that particular client, and we utilize his email ID as his login ID and give them a one-time password. With that email address, you can log in to the portal. Now, the purpose of taking the email address as the login ID is that from the portal, the registered email ID will keep getting all the notifications related to the transactions, the e-invoice submissions they are doing on the through to the IRP via this portal, via this tool. And once you receive the password, you can go and change the password, and then that password will be fully secure, known to you. We will not be aware of it. If you forget it, you have to raise a request, and we have to reset it. Now, as Karan mentioned, the tool can be utilized for submission of e-invoices on behalf of multiple GSTINs. So suppose, for example, one user is responsible to submit e-invoices on behalf of multiple GSTINs. It could be GSTINs or across multiple states. So you can add the GSTINs in your profile, give the name, legal name, and then you have to register here with the username and password which you would have generated on the e-invoice registration portal. So as Karan mentioned, if you are eligible for more than 500 crore, then you will be able to register, otherwise not. So if you are eligible, you will be able to generate the username password, and this username password will be used in order to submit the e-invoices to the IRP in an authenticated manner. So the government infrastructure is very diligent, secure and robust. No IRP call can happen without proper authentication. Now coming to the e-invoicing module. So before we onboard the client on the tool, as I mentioned, there are two primary steps. One is, of course, the onboarding, email ID and password generation. And second is creation of the profile. Once these two steps are done, then there are multiple ways you can upload your data or pass the e-invoice related data on this portal. What I am demonstrating right now is, for the ease of understanding, is uploading e-invoices through Excel, but we have provision to directly connect with your client's custom ERPs. It could be SAP, Tally, or any custom ERP. We provide industry standard open APIs which are based on JSON schema, JavaScript object notations. That is an industry standard. ERPs can easily convert the e-invoice data from their ERP into that annotation and submit to us. So in the end of this demo, I will quickly show you the APIs which definitely the IT team or the technical team of any client will understand, and they can easily correlate. Now, in order to upload data on this portal, what we have done, we have created a sample Excel specification, which is prepared by us. So this Excel has all the 132 fields which are prescribed by the GST for uploading one e-invoice related information. Out of this 132 fields, approximately 40 to 44 fields are mandatory fields. For example, like details related to the supplier, details related to the supply type code, for example, B2B, SEZ, export or deemed export kind of transactions. You can also mention what kind of document type it is. INV for invoice, debit note or credit note, and then your document number, which is the invoice number, and document date. Like these are the few sample fields which I'm highlighting, but other than these, there are other essential fields also which you need to fill. For example, the supplier GSTN number, the legal name, the address, etc. Now, once the data is captured either in this Excel or from your ERP, then you can easily upload this information onto the portal. So for the ease of demonstration, I have already created some sample data. I'll upload it. Now, once you have uploaded the data, what we do in the backend is we apply all the GST schema validations on that particular piece of information which you have uploaded. There are approximately 45 to 50 validations which GST has prescribed. Those validations are available on all the GST portals or e-invoice portals. For example, in version 1.02, I'll just give an example. In version 1.02, document date was allowed only as of today or yesterday. Now in the latest version of 1.03, they have removed that validation, and now in the document date you can have any backdated date. So there is no restriction. So we are constantly monitoring those changes, and we keep upgrading those validation internally. So if you see on the screen, what we did is we uploaded one invoice, and as per our portal validation engine, it has passed all the validation and it has moved to the processed invoice section. Processed invoice section means that any invoice in this section now is ready to be submitted to the IRP. In the meanwhile, I'll just try to show you that why we had this email ID. As soon as the file which we uploaded got processed, you also get a notification or an inbox that this is the file, and a unique identifier which is associated with the file gets generated. And if you observe over here, this is the record which I just created at 3:48 p.m. And if you see, there are no transactional, no validation errors associated. What we do in this tool is, if there is any validation error, we turn that field into red, which I will show you, in the subsequent discussion. So now, just from demonstration perspective, what I will do is I'll just try to submit this, I'm creating a unique identifier so that now I hope everyone has observed what happened. What we did is we just submitted the document number MAH109911, which was a B2B invoice, to the IRP. And from the IRP, we have received this whole bunch of, I would say, encryptic response, which if you don't use the tool, you have to keep by yourself. As Karan mentioned, the government will only keep this record with themselves for 1 day, but we can keep it for you as per our engagement, at least for 8 years. And in the back end, the tool has also emailed the user with the entire response which it has received from the GST portal. The primary fields to be observed are the IRN number, which Krishan detailed out initially. This is a 64 character number, which is unique. Just to highlight, this IRN number is generated after the combination of 4 fields: your supply type code, your document type code, your document number, document date, and the financial year to which it belongs. If you try to upload a same invoice with the same details, you will get a duplicate IRN error. Now, other thing to be noted is that from the tool, we have also give you a pre-generated PDF. I'll try to download it. Now, if you observe this PDF, we have designed as per the GST prescriptions that the QR code should be on the right hand most top corner. The QR code, as we discussed, it is a machine readable code. You can scan your mobile right away, and you can use a barcode scanner, or you can use the Google Lens on your phone. You can scan it, and Google Lens or any barcode scanner will give you the information which is lying behind this QR code, which primarily is the IRN number, the supplier GSTN details, and the supplier details who has submitted this invoice on the IRP portal. And in the PDF, if you see, we have captured all the relevant details, like what kind of invoice it was, what was the document number, the buyer details, supplier, shipping details, dispatch details, and the tax related calculations, right? What was the taxable value? What is the GST rate applicable? What is the CGST amount? We have we have encapsulated the entire. So this whole PDF is subject to changes as per the stationery of the SSE, as Karan mentioned. So it is not that this is what you are seeing is going to be always like that. These PDFs can be customized as per the client requirement. Second important aspect is that what we mentioned in the tool features is the timer, which gets started as soon as you generate a IRN for an invoice. So if you see now, for the invoice we just generated, we have 24 hours to cancel this. After 24 hours, if I try to cancel any invoice, we will not be able to do that because we will ourselves give you an error that cannot cancel. Otherwise, the GST portal will also give you, because they will also start comparing the time when you are submitting an invoice from the acknowledgement date. And if it is more than 24 hours, they will not allow you to cancel. Also on the tool, we are giving provision for you to download the QR code as an image. You can download this and use it as per the discretion. Either you can print it on your own invoices or pass it on to your ERP and consume it over there. Second important feature is the Excel downloads, which we received a lot of requests from our prospective clients and from our existing clients, that they wanted a download of the QR code and the IRN, which they have received from the IRP in an Excel format. So what we have provisioned is that in this particular section, you can download all the invoices. I'll just quickly show. So if you observe, whatever Excel you uploaded, we have given you the download of the same Excel in exactly same format, consisting of the 132 columns. Plus, we have also appended some additional metadata columns, which are specific to the tool. So no one should be touching that, editing that. Plus, we are also adding the acknowledgement number, acknowledgement date, the signed invoice, the generated IRN, and signed QR code. These are the 4 fields which we received from the IRP. So we have associated that response with each and every invoice which you submitted, and it's available for Excel in Excel. So there were requests that clients wanted that they can consume this Excel as per their discretion. You can utilize it for record keeping, you can utilize for offline work, and you can utilize for direct consumption into the ERP. So there are multiple benefits around this. So these are some cancelled IRN. So if you cancel an IRN, then on the portal, you see all those IRNs, all the invoices striked out. So these are just for log purpose, just for record keeping, so that you can monitor and come down later down the line and check which all invoices I cancelled. This is our failed invoice section, which I was discussing earlier. In the failed invoice section, we show you all the transactional errors, all the validation errors which have been generated across your invoices in one shot. So for example, if you see on my screen, we are showing you a seller details pin, which does not belong to state code 29. So as per the GST schema, the supplier state code should match to the first 2 characters, and so you have to change this. You can on the fly runtime, you can rectify your errors. So now you can put a pin code which belongs to state code 29, and so this way we allow users, this is a user friendly interface, you can rectify your errors and keep removing your errors, and as soon as the errors are removed, the invoice will automatically move to the process invoice section. For the paucity of time, I'll just try to show all the other features very quickly. We also have a report section where you can easily monitor how many invoices you have submitted per state. So these states are derived from the supplier GSTN numbers on behalf of which you have submitted the invoices. And also there are certain reports like what is the total amount of invoice value you have submitted to the IRP for XYZ supplier GSTN numbers. For example, here for 36AA supplier GSTN, you have a 62 lakh. You have a 62 lakh amount of invoice which you have submitted, and for 29 you have 13 lakh that way. Now I just want to quickly also show the Swagger APIs. This is for the people who have a little bit of technical understanding, or they want to transfer this information to the technical team. These are the APIs which we have been iterating, that these are available for consumption for your ERP. All the matured ERPs and advanced ERPs in the market today can easily convert the e-invoice information from their system into a JSON schema format, and you can utilize this API to connect, send us the information, we will apply the validations. If any errors, we throw it back to the ERP, you rectify and submit it back, and we submit it to the IRP portal. That being said, what we recommend to our clients is that as the date is approaching for compliance, and if the ERP integration generally takes 2 to 3 weeks of time, then they can approach for a hybrid model where they can initially go for the Excel based approach, and then as and when the patch and the connector is ready for their specific ERP, they can connect. So at least the compliance will start matching from day one. So I'll just quickly show a summary of what I demonstrated. This is the tool. Our tool GTax Pro sits between IRP and your ERP, or your whatever medium you select, and then we are providing this enrichment layer and the validation layer, which allows user-friendly way for your client base or your client employees to work on it. So with this, Krishan, I'll hand it back to you for the ending notes, and then I think you can take it ahead.
Thanks, Parikshit. Thank you so much for the the demonstration of this tool. I think what I wanted to highlight after this discussion, and how Karan elaborated the requirement and the need for preparation of the invoicing requirement. Most importantly, what you really need to look at today is whether, firstly, this requirement is applicable to you on 1st October or not. If it is applicable, where are you in terms of the phase which we talked about? And many people who have started implementing the invoicing requirement in their systems, especially who were going for integration, etc., were already prepared, or they were already having a process which was already set up. But if you think that that process has not been done till now, and you are expecting that the deadline might go up, while the preparedness, in our experience and talking to various industry bodies, clients, etc., and I will obviously seek some feedback later in time from Pavan as well. But the preparation of the readiness of the industry is still a challenge, I would say. And what we see here is that if you look at the kind of solutions or available solutions in the market, and catering to the requirement of your own needs and the ease at which you want to take up this compliance, you would have to factor in all these things in and have a plan in hand if you have to make this implementation happen on 1st October. If you go for end-to-end integration, there is a lot more work to be done. Obviously, that requires a full landscape, review of your ERP environment, as well as understanding how the impact will be met in terms of putting this process into your ERP, so that your ERP is seamlessly integrated to the IRP portal to generate the invoice at a click of a button. But if you are not ready on 1st October and this timeline actually is implemented, then obviously there is a challenge where you should look at a hybrid model where you can actually start using a tool which is available in the market, just like ours, and start importing data by way of an Excel upload, which was very easy, as Parikshit showed, and your invoicing will start. You will start reviewing your invoices on the tool. You will be able to generate the PDF on the tool. You will be able to send mailers from the tool. All of those things will be very, very conveniently be possible to be done. That's something which can follow by end-to-end integration. If at all that integration does not happen on 1st October, you will still be ready for this compliance on 1st October. And that's what our advice is, that if this date does not get shifted, or even if it gets shifted maybe by a month or 2 or 3 months, and that's probably what the intention of the government is, that they want to implement e-invoicing within this financial year, and also bring others who are below 500 crore, between 100 and 500 crore, also into the ambit. They will also have to start preparing, because this will take time. People who started preparing for this, large, multinationals, very, very large players in FMCG, etc., they started way back. And on 1st of January, many of them actually were covered in the voluntary phase as well. So they have done a lot of testing. They have done a lot of in-depth R&D. They have understood the changes in the schema. They have implemented them already. And same is the thing with anybody who was actually going for e-invoicing today. And this landscape will ultimately impact, everybody who's covered by that turnover in times to come. And for people who are also doing B2C, they will anyways have to create the QR code facility within their system, because that is not going to be submitted on the IRP. So that again requires any service provider to actually work with you and create that facility into your systems, so that you are able to manage that compliance on a self-assessment basis. So in the gist of the matter, I believe that this requirement is a change which is to be incorporated. It requires a lot of steps to be undertaken. And if you have to be ready on a particular date, which is today, 1st of October, then the time is obviously short. And if you have not really reached that level of preparedness, then our advice is go for a solution which is available in the market, which suits you. These are solutions which are not really very, very expensive. They will serve the purpose. Even if your systems are not ready for integration, many clients of ours are not integrating the solution in their ERP because they're not able to, and they don't want to also. For the ease of reference, they will use the tool externally and start doing e-invoicing from the tool. They can at the back end continue to maintain the database, because this data can be replicated into their systems by themselves. So our suggestion today is understand the need, understand the requirements. If the date gets pushed, don't think that the requirement will not come. It will still come. So we should be ready and be compliant. And if you are able to start, accessing this, information and are able to generate e-invoicing as soon as possible, that is something we should be doing. And that's where probably our advice would be in terms of the way forward, as far as we are, concerned. And the way we have seen industry, we have seen different, people who are still probably not ready fully, but they are positive in terms of the intent of the government, and they want to participate in this, large initiative. We understand that there is a business, challenge right now, and because of which obviously government should also be mindful at the same time. If there is a need to push the deadline, and the government is looking at it, there is a discussion going on already, and that if that happens, it will happen for some more time, and ultimately it will get introduced. So it's a matter of time any which way. But yes, we also believe that the preparedness levels of the industry has to be taken into consideration. That is something which I'm sure the government is also looking at. So at the same time, we believe that both the things have to happen together, because this is a large initiative where participation from both ends are required to be done simultaneously. So that's what we had today. And I think we tried addressing all the queries, alongside the discussion we were having. But if something which is left out, I can quickly look at it. Karan, have you been able to see any queries which are pending? Otherwise, I will invite.
Yeah, I
even
think most of the queries are around how do we cancel it, what happens to stock transfers or job work transactions. So, like I mentioned, if there is any cancellation or any amendment to be done in the invoice, can be done within 24 hours. Beyond that, it has to be only the way out is only left as credit note or debit note. That is one. And on the job work, if the transaction of job work is under the bill of supply, then there is no requirement of e-invoicing or a delivery challan, whatever it is, depending on the nature of supply. And and if there is any tax invoice, which when the goods are coming back from the job worker to the principal, because there could be a tax invoice on his charges, so that should have an invoice if that job worker is above 500 crores. So that is something we need to take care immediately. And there were also questions around what happens to the export invoices. So export invoices are covered for invoicing. So that is another common question which I could see. And there was also a question in the beginning on the threshold, how to calculate, which I think all of us clarified that it has to be one PAN, has to be seen for all registrations across India. The turnover has to be aggregate of that to calculate the eligibility. And also the NSE link, which has provided the enable eligibility of that SSE can be can be accessed, and it can be checked there also. So yeah, Krishan, these were common questions which came across. And of course, another question was which was common was on what happens to the exempt suppliers. So exempt suppliers of both goods and services are under the cover of bill of supply, so they are not liable for invoicing. So that is also something has been clarified now. Yeah, that's about it from my side, Krishan. This is what I could see, and I think we've captured. So people are also requesting for PPT, so that we need to see whether that can be shared with the larger group.
Sure. We'll discuss it between with the PhD, and we'll try to see what we can do on that. I also saw a question from somebody who mentioned about the reconciliation at the back end of the data as per IRN and the data as per GSTR1. See, the data of GSTR1 ultimately is your supply data. It will automatically get populated for your reference when you prepare your GSTR1. The data which has already gone through the invoice portal is already with you. So your data is automatically matched. You cannot change that. But it is more for the buyer or the recipient that the data matching will happen automatically, because your information which you submit through the creation of the invoice will automatically populate in the purchase side, details of that particular customer or the recipient. So that will anyways have a clear link between the two, which means that today you have to look at the GCR 2A and then that new 2B, which has recently been introduced. But whatever information we have to reconcile, ultimately this information will automatically get populated on that mode, and that will make the reconciliation process a little more robust and transparent. At the same time, one challenge which I foresee today is that there are many players on whom this requirement will not be applicable in the first phase. Now, what happens to that? There will be some additional administrative issues and compliance issues for people to deal with both kind of databases, because one data will flow automatically through the IRP from to the GST portal. Other will still be sitting in the GSTR 2A and 2B for that matter, which will be coming for people who are not covered by invoicing. But the data for the purpose of reconciliation will have to be taken into account together for both. And that's exactly what will create the requirement to still do what you're doing today, as if you are not covered for e-invoicing. So for people who are covered by invoicing, they will comply with the requirement and make that happen. For the people who are receiving the data from others, which is input, and the details are coming to them, they will be hybrid. It will not just be invoice data, it will be also data which will be manually being submitted through the GST portal, which will be coming like today on the GSTN of the recipient. So those are certain practical issues, I believe, that will continue for some more time. There will be a need for to wait as well for a robust automated reconciliation. But as we mentioned, this is the world which is changing towards complete automation, digitalization, and we are looking at the positive aspects of it in terms of the requirements which are being envisaged and pushed upon the companies. Compliance is obviously a burden which will never end, I would say, but GST's future is all about automation and compliance. So that's the thought which we probably had in terms of our thoughts on the readiness or the nuances of the e-invoicing requirement which the government has introduced, where you should be today in terms of your readiness, and what we believe can be some of the solutions which are readily available in terms of the manner in which you would like to capture them, whether you do it externally through the tools, whether you have an in-house integration of that particular tool, but you will need some utility to manage to do this compliance, and that's something which will be expected out of every such assessee who has to do that compliance on the portal itself. So that's what we had, and I think, yes, we've been able to address all the other questions. I don't see any new question after that. So yes, happy to have any more questions. So we have some more minutes left, but I would also here request if Pawan, your thoughts on how you see in terms of what we see as preparedness. What do you think it should be the practical way of approaching the timelines, etc., and where you see industry is, and you are sitting in a location where compliance was always at the maximum in the state of Punjab at a point, and where you see this requirement, and what you see from clients and people in the industry, how they look at the 1st October deadline.
Yeah, well, Karan, I think looking at the preparedness of the industry, given pandemic circumstances, I believe that industry is not really serious to take it up as on a serious thought. But yes, as you already mentioned, it's very, very clear from the government side that e-invoicing is going to be the future. There is no stopgap. Only thing what can happen is that there could be some extension of the dates for a month or maybe for 3 months. Even then, looking at the kind of the scenario, because a lot of preparedness is required for the right implementation of the GST e-invoicing system, because you need to integrate your systems as well as you need to educate your team and the people how it has to be worked upon. In case we still start looking at from the scenario that, okay, the date is going to be extended, then again, we'll be sitting at the last date looking for tethering problems and all those kind of last minute hiccups. I think this is the right time. Even if the date is extended, the industry should start preparing, and any extension of date would be actually in a favor of the industry to be prepared at the time when the e-invoicing would actually be implemented. So I see this is a very, very big change, and it's primarily an IT-driven change. So not only though the compliance level in this region is pretty high, but again, the people needs to be educated because it's primarily IT based. A lot of industry we have seen still is working on the manual invoicing system and giving the data to the data operator who later on enter the data into the Tally or another softwares. Even the large firms we are looking at, we are advising a couple of government institutions I was looking for. There could be some kind of exemption for such organizations, but probably there is no such exemption for government or local authorities, which is again going to be a problem because implementation of an IT system is a very, very big and challenging task in those locations. So I believe that the industry should take it as a step that they should rightly at the right stage to start implementing it rather than waiting for the extension of the dates and again coming back to the same level. Because next step is going to be that their government is going to cover 100 crore people also for the e-invoicing. So if they keep waiting for the dates for 500 turnover when the government is actually going to implement for 100 crores, I believe they are going to take 1st April as a deadline for 100 crore turnover people or companies also. So this is the right time where we should implement our systems. And yes, first of all, I'll also like to congratulate GT team. And your software was very user friendly. So I've also gone through a couple of other softwares demos, but this I found to be very user friendly. It was easy to go through all the processes. So congratulate each of you for this. I think you have put a lot of efforts into preparing this tool. So with this, I think this has been a very good session and very informative so far. So Madhu ma'am, if nobody has further questions, we can conclude the today's
Mr.
session.
Amit Kumar has raised his hand. If you would like to
Mr.
ask.
Amit, if you want to ask something, yeah.
You can unmute Mr. Amit.
So I believe we are not able to hear him. So in any case, if anybody have any further questions, they can connect with Ramneet ma'am, and she can coordinate with the GT team or with us for any reply on any queries subsequent to it. And yes, this is something I'll again recommend, that GT has done a very good effort, and people could connect with them for any kind of software assistance. And personally, I believe their team is very friendly and supportive. So
Hello.
thank you very much. And with
Hello.
this,
Hello.
Yeah, there is some query. Yes, you can ask.
Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. It was very fantastic. I have one query, that since time is there, we can have a little bit discussion about that linking to the e-way bill, some repercussions, something changes to the current system. So since there is a time, if you are convinced to discuss about something, e-way bill. Thank you.
So
I think,
are you looking at any specific thing on e-way bill?
yeah, I was about to say, Nihar, in case you have any specific queries, we can definitely take it up. But if you ask to take you through the entire process, that's gonna take another 30 minutes.
It's
So
going
once
to be another
current
session,
will start, then we have to wait for another 30 minutes to close the session. So if you have any specific questions, yes, we can address that. Nihar?
So generic, probably I can address. That's again, it will be good to know a specific question around it. How it is linked to e-invoicing, e-way bill is e-invoicing. What they say that it's going to have integration with the e-way bill solution of the government side, and part A will be auto-populated. But part B, which is transportation, transporters, details, etc., will still needs to be populated by the SECI himself. But yes, whatever details are going in the e-invoicing, that will directly go and sit in the part A of the e-way bill, so that one, there is no mismatch. Two, whatever invoices we have generated that are reported under e-way bill also in the movement of goods have happened. So that is the kind of linkage they are going to do vis-a-vis e-way bill, like they will do for returns also at some point in time. So that is what how e-invoicing is linked to e-way bill. And very briefly, as a layman, I can explain.
Yeah, I believe this is something which government intends to do, but as of now, I think e-way bill is not yet connected with the e-invoicing system. So it will take little more time to get connected. I think that would be the final step once the e-invoicing system is fully made operational for all kind of taxpayers and assessors. So thereafter, the next step could be that they may connect the e-way bill with the e-invoicing portal. So which will facilitate the people that your invoice data is automatically will flow into the e-way bill system. The only part B would be something which needs to be filled by the taxpayer thereafter. So Nihar, in case you have any specific questions, we can take it up, or else we'll conclude the session and then you can connect subsequently for any specific question. So I believe there is no specific question. So we'll like to close the session here. It was indeed a great privilege and honor for me to propose a vote of thanks here. I would like to thank our eminent speakers, Krishan Arora, partner Grant Thornton, Karan Kakkar, associate partner with Grant Thornton, and Prakshit Jain, and last but not the least, the industry members who from Pan India who has joined us for making this successful presentation and seminar. This has actually been indeed a very enriching experience, and which the entire GT team has given. And I again thank all of you, including the GT team, for coming together on this platform to support us in this our endeavor to guide the industry at large. Thank you very much. Thank you everyone for joining us today on this seminar.
Thank you so much, Pawan, and thank you everyone. Thank you, PSD, and we will be happy to have more interactions in coming times. And thank you all for your participation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
joining.
Thank you.